Let's move on to the next game. 4-6s versus Deep Googler. Going into today, Deep Googlers is already up 18-9. 18 points coming to Andrew Luck. 12 of those points coming on the ground as in touchdowns, which are taken away from my Vic Ballard. Thanks a lot. But 18 points for Andrew Luck, so well on his way. There, and then Reggie Wayne for JB has 9, so he did fairly solid. So we have quarterbacks going up against each other. I'm really surprised, JB. Your quarterbacks are phenomenal, but I am surprised that you're starting Tony Romo instead of Josh Freeman, who's been averaging well over 20 points for the last 4 weeks. So I'm a little surprised there. But I still think your quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Tony Romo, fairly solid. But going up against Drew Brees and Andrew Luck, I think this is going to be a wash. I think that Tony Romo will probably get around 18 points, right around what Andrew Luck was getting. And then Tom Brady and Drew Brees will be around the same. But I'll give the edge to JB, actually, because Tom Brady's going up against Buffalo, and I think they're just going to do what they always do to Buffalo, and they're just going to destroy them. So that goes to JB. Then we go to the wide receivers, and JB's wide receivers are phenomenal. And I think I'm going to go with Brandon Marshall and A.J. Green, JB's wide receivers, over Momper starting to Sidney Rice and Demaryius Thomas. Although I will say, Momper, that Sidney Rice is actually becoming quite a good wide receiver as of late. He's kind of sneaky. You wouldn't think of it, but in the last 4 weeks, he scored 14, 3, 11, and 12. And so he's been a solid play for you, a nice plug and play, a guy you can forget, put in your lineup and forget, and get good output from. But I'm going to have to go with A.J. Green and Brandon Marshall as winning the wide receiver day. Then when it comes to running backs, I'm going to have to also go with JB's running backs. Reggie Bush going up against Tennessee. Tennessee is currently giving the third most fantasy points. Let me double check that. Yep, the third most fantasy points to running backs this season. So I'm going to go with Reggie Bush and Stephen Ridley, who again is going to be a part of that blowout in New England against Isaac Redman and Marshawn Lynch. Redman's running well, and I think he'll do well on Monday night. But Lynch right now is a little hurt, a little dinged up, and I don't think he'll do that well against the Jets. I really could be wrong on that one, but I don't think he will. Jimmy Graham will beat Aaron Hernandez, but again, just because of the shootout nature of that game, Aaron Hernandez is going to be fairly close to Jimmy Graham. But I'll give the edge to Momper there. Then when you get down to the flex play, Forte for JB is going up against Houston. I don't think he's going to get a lot of points there because Houston's again playing awesome. And what's nice for JB is he already has 9 points locked into his flex spot with Reggie Wayne. He's going up against Torrey Smith and Mike Wallace. I think Mike Wallace is actually going to do really well. I think that Todd Haley is a little pissed, a little upset that he had to leave Kansas City the way that he did. And so he wants to come out and he wants to destroy them. And so I think he's going to unleash the Steelers' offense. And Mike Wallace is going to be a beneficiary of that. And I think Torrey Smith will actually do well against Oakland as well. So I'm going to give Momper the flex spot in this game. Then we come down to kicker. Kicker is kind of a wash. We go to defense. I'm gonna actually go with Momper's defense here. Of Pittsburgh up against Kansas City. I think they're going to do really well. Kansas City's playing really, really bad right now, and Pittsburgh's going to be hyped. It's Monday night, and so I think they'll do better than Houston, who's going up against Chicago on Sunday Night Football. So, in the end, I don't know if you could follow all of that, but in the end, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to go with JB on this one. I think up and down the board, he's really solid. So I think in the end, JB's going to edge it out. And then finally, the two seminarians. We got myself, Picadilla, up against Mark Sandviger. So we go with our quarterback play. Quarterback has not been my strong suit this year. And so I'm a little iffy to say that I think that my quarterbacks are going to win this week. Phillip Rivers is going up against Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay, and that's going to be a hard thing to do going across country. That's not an easy thing for teams to do, and they tend to actually perform worse when they have to make the cross-country trek. So Phillip Rivers, I think he actually might not do very well this week. And but Matthew Stafford, though, is on an uptick. Matthew Stafford actually, surprisingly, is up this year in total yards and completion percentage. He's actually having a great season. The only thing that's not happening for him is he's not getting in the end zone. And that was definitely highlighted last week by the fact that they scored 31 points. He had almost 300 yards passing and had no touchdown passes, and all of them were actually rushing touchdowns, which has just highlighted the fact that he just cannot get the ball in the end zone for his team, or his guys just can't catch it. I think right now he's projected to maybe get 15 touchdowns for the entire season after being well over 40 last year. So that's a tough turnaround for him. But I think that he's on the upswing. I think he's starting to really connect with his wide receivers, and I think he corrects that against the division foe Vikings this week. He's going up against Carson Palmer, who will have to be throwing a lot because they're missing their running backs. And he's going up against Ben Roethlisberger, who, again, Haley is going to be unleashing. So I'm going to go with Mark's quarterbacks this week. Then we come to the wide receivers. Deshaun Jackson, he's hit or miss. Andre Johnson's going up against Chicago. I don't think he's going to have a good game. But then you have Roddy White going up against Vincent Jackson. Both are very hot wide receivers, and so I'm actually going to say this is going to be a wash. I think the wide receiver position is fairly even. Then we have Adrian Peterson and Vic Ballard against Ryan Matthews and LaShawn McCoy. I'm actually going to say Ryan Matthews is not going to do much better than Vic Ballard this week. He's actually been averaging around 6 to 8 points the last 5 weeks, so I'm not going to go with Ryan Matthews as being that good this week. But then you have LaShawn McCoy going up against Adrian Peterson, and I'm going to give the edge to Adrian Peterson on this one. Adrian Peterson is playing awesome right now. He has over 500 yards after contact. If you just took his numbers after contact, he would be the 19th ranked running back just from his yards after contact. So he's playing awesome right now. He's finding the end zone. So I'm actually going to go with Adrian Peterson over LaShawn McCoy. LaShawn McCoy's running behind a banged up offense, and I don't think he's going to play very well. Heath Miller playing hot. I think he's going to do better than Jason Witten. Then we come to the flex spot. He's got Denarius Moore and Steve Smith. Both are going up against phenomenal cornerbacks in Webb for Baltimore and Champ Bailey for Denver. So I think they're going to really shut him down. Right now, it's a toss-up for me on who I'm even starting in my flex spot. I got Marcel Reese, the hot pickup out of Oakland. He's looking to be potentially the starting running back there, but maybe in a tandem. But I think he'll actually play really well. And then I'm tossed up between Kenny Britt and Daniel Thomas. I think either one will be really good. Dolphins are giving up the 4th most points to wide receivers, and Daniel Thomas is going up against the Titans, who are giving up the third most to running backs. In the end, I'm going to say that I'm going to pull out the win in this game and take down Mark, but it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a squeaker, but I think in the end my team will prevail. I didn't mean for this to actually go almost 20 minutes long, and so if you are still listening to this, I applaud you. But I had a lot of fun actually if you didn't notice, going through pick by pick this week. I think this is going to be a great week for our league. Way to go, EKL. Thanks, Spinogle, for tapping me to give the week's intro, the week's game-by-game breakdown. I was planning on having Claire be a part of the broadcast tonight, but she is asleep, and so I did not do that. Now that it is past 1 o'clock, I am going to sign off, get some sleep myself, be ready to watch the games tomorrow. I hope you're all doing well. I love you all. Have a good night.